Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play the Giuoco Pianissimo. So, we got 3 learning goals for today's video. Number 1, I'm going to teach you the themes of the Giuoco Pianissimo. Number 2, I'm going to teach you the theory of the Giuoco Pianissimo. And lastly, I'm going to mention a couple common endgames to wrap this video up. So, the Giuoco Pianissimo here begins after the moves e4, best by test, e5, crazy stuff, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. Whoa, bishop's on the board. Okay, black has a lot of ways to continue here. There's knight to f6, bishop to c5. Some weirdos play like h6 here, but for this one we're going to look at bishop to c5. So after bishop to c5, you are going to play c3. This is the main line. Black will likely play knight to f6, and you will play d3. And at this point, you have reached the Giuoco Pianissimo. Alright. Now I'm going to teach you the themes, so let's head over into the pawn structure. Whoa, we're in the pawn structure. That's absolutely crazy. I bet I got you guys there. Didn't expect all the pieces to fly off the board. Okay, so this is the pawn structure. White's pawn structure is significantly more interesting than black's pawn structure, and you are playing white, so we're going to analyze from that viewpoint. Okay, so in the pawn structure are always found the themes of the opening. Here's just a little bit of quick advice for you. When analyzing literally any position in chess, if you want to figure out the themes of the position, i.e. what you should be doing when, look at the pawn structure. The pawn structure always has everything you need. If you can read the pawn structure right, you'll know what to do. So I would like to start with this c-pawn here. This pawn on c3. This pawn on c3 does a lot of things. Notice how pawns support like this. I don't think I need to really mention this too much, but this is an important thing to go over, that the c-pawn supports d4, and it supports b4, crazy stuff. So this c-pawn is very advantageous to leave right here. Not only is there a bishop in front of it on c4, but it can support 2 powerful pawn pushes in the center and on the flank. And you'll notice, as you recall, hopefully as you recall, that there is a bishop on c5 and a knight here on c6. And so by playing b4, you can chase away all these minor pieces from black's position and really be quite annoying, to be frankly honest with you. So from here, just by looking at the c-pawn, we can determine that a queenside pawn storm with the a and b pawns is in order. That's not how pawns move. A and b pawns is in order to play properly in this position. Okay, so now onto the d-pawn. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but this d-pawn you can push to d4. Also, thank you to the c3 pawn for your service by allowing us to play d4. d4 is a very nice break. In the Giuoco Pianissimo, obviously any center push is usually pretty good, but when you can take back like this, feels pretty nice, right? Nice 2 pawns in the center, very principled stuff going on here. So, you should keep in mind d4, very nice theme in the Giuoco Pianissimo. Okay, so we got 2 themes. We got queenside pawn storms, and we got d4 break. Okay, last theme. Last theme is the reason why this, well, one of the reasons why this pawn is on d3 here. It's actually not able to be seen right here. It's this knight on b1, if you can imagine that there is an undeveloped knight here on b1. If this pawn was on d2, this knight obviously can't really go anywhere. c3 is blocked up. d2 is blocked up. However, this pawn is on d3. And so we can determine we should move this knight from b1 to d3 to f1, and this actually requires some knowledge of the position, but to f1 after we have castled and played rook to e1, and then to g3. This is sort of the knight route, and then from there, like, usually f5, or maybe even recapturing on f4. So just something to keep in mind there, a knight route from b1 to d2 to f1 to g3 to f5, very, very common. So those are the themes of the Giuoco Pianissimo. Just to run over them one last time, we got the queenside pawn storm with the a and b pawns supported by the c3 pawn. We got a d4 break in the center, also supported by the c3 pawn, and we have a knight route from b1 to d2 to f1 to g3 to f5. Okay, I will see you back over on the main board. Whoa, we're back on the main board, that's crazy. Okay, here's for the theory section of the video. So I'm going to go down through the theory in a little bit of a unique way. I'm not going to just give you a list of moves. I'm going to give you a bunch of like if-thens. So, for example, this is our first bit of theory in this way. If black plays d6, you will play a4. Okay? Just trust me on this one. Alright, I'm gonna try to make this as simple as possible for you. If black plays d6, at quite literally any moment, you will play a4. Okay? And I'm gonna go over this in a second. When black responds, trust me, black will respond to a6 or a5. Just trust me on this one. When black responds, you will play h3. Okay? Alright, let me run through why this means anything. Okay. So d6 does two things. d6, as you will see, supports the e-pawn. You will also see d6 opens up this bishop, this light squared bishop. Two things to mention. Number one, this light squared bishop is extremely annoying. These pins in the Giuoco Pianissimo, actually for both sides, are very, very annoying. Right? This is an annoying pin for black, and this is an annoying pin for white. So, if black plays d6, you want to play h3 at some point. However, there's one more threat of d6, and that is actually knight to a5. So let me just say I castle here. Now black can play knight to a5. And now when you try to leave, black will take you. This is extremely annoying, right? This is no fun. Nobody likes to play this position. Even if it's the computer says it's completely fine for white. Like, you know it's fine for white, but you don't want to play it still, right? So, you may be asking yourself, okay, why can't they play, I should say, why can't they play knight to a5 here? Well, here's the thing. If they play knight to a5 here, you have bishop takes f7 check, king takes f7, and then knight takes e5 check. The point is this e-pawn is no longer defended, and your up a pawn and this black king cannot castle any longer, right? So that's if they play knight a5 without defending this e4 pawn. So, by defending this e4 pawn, they renew the threat of knight a5, because now you can no longer take this pawn. They're not going to lose a pawn from this exchange. So, you must play a4. a4 does two things. a4 prevents knight a5, because if knight a5 is played when a4 is played, you now have bishop to a2, and you are guaranteed to win a minor piece on the next move. For example, if they move back with the knight to avoid a fork, you will play b4, they will play bishop back, and you will trap the bishop. If they play bishop back, you will attack the knight will move away, and you will trap the bishop in a similar fashion. If they make an escape square for their bishop, you will fork, bishop goes away, and you capture the knight. So, if you play bishop to a2, after a4 is played, and they play knight to a5, they're guaranteed to lose a piece. So, they can't play knight to a5 after a4 is played. Now, they can't also just ignore this, because this is actually a threat. If they just castle here, you will play b4, and that you will trap their bishop in a similar fashion. So, they must play a6 or a5, not here. They must play a6 or a5. a6 is the most common at the master level, however, computer likes a5. I'm going to show a6 because I think it's pretty normal, like it's a normal human move in this position. So, they will play a6. Now, everything is defended, right? Knight a5, no longer possible. And after b4, bishop slides back. So for both sides, everything is defended on the queen side. However, this still has a threat of bishop to g4, right? So now, once they play their a-pawn move, whether it's a6 or a5, here or here, you will play h3. Now that they can no longer play bishop to g4. So that's the order of operations. So to run through it again, if they play d6, you will play a4, they will make their a-pawn move to defend their bishop, and then you will play h3. Okay? That's how that works. If they play d6, you play a4, h3. Okay, number 2. I'm looking down at my notes here. I'm trying to read it because my handwriting is garbage right now. Okay, I see. Yes. Right. So after this, they will likely play h6, because then you will play bishop to g5. They'll play h6 for a very similar reason. Both of you will castle, play, say, rook e1. I'll just make some random moves for them. I don't know if these are the moves they will make. Let's say rook e8. Okay, here we have hit the next critical moment. Okay, at this point, you want to start your knight route. You want to start routing your knight through here and start getting him to the action a little bit. So now you'll play knight bd2 in this position. You obviously have castled your king, you have moved your rook over to e1 to free up the f1 square here, And now you can just continue routing. This isn't particularly intense. This is just basic standard stuff here. So, let's just say, you know, like, say they do the similar thing, you know, something like this. Right. Say you get into a position similar to this, right? This is a good position for you as a Pianissimo player. Very similar type of thing, just sort of going with the knight route down through f1 there. Okay. Next piece of theory. If black's light squared bishop goes to e6, trade. Always trade if black's light squared bishop goes to e6. Even if you're like back here or like doing something over here, trade, okay? There is a reason why you must trade in this position. And that is if you don't trade, first of all, I don't even know how here you wouldn't trade and just not like it be in an objectively worse position. But maybe let's say instead of playing knight g3 and doing what you were supposed to do, let's say just made like say you just played like, I don't know, bishop b3 and they played this. This is actually a bad move here. Bishop c2 to support this e-pawn. This is a bad move. Because, guess what happens? Black can play d5. They're playing the d-pawn break. This isn't good. Why is black playing the d-pawn break? You're playing the Giuoco Pianissimo, black is playing the d-pawn break. This is bad. This is a well-supported d-pawn break by 3 pieces. Very, very bad. Don't let this bishop on e6 get any play when it comes to d-pawn breaks. So if bishop comes to e6, like so, trade. You must trade. They will take back. And the point is this isn't as bad because these pawns are kind of weak and they kind of block out your opponent's pieces, and you can sort of work around this whole thing, and you can also, like, you know, attack on the queen side a little bit better, you know, without having so many problems. Just trust me on this one, okay? It's just better if they have their double pawns, alright? Like, this is just better. Just trust me, okay? Trust me, bro. If they play bishop to e6, you will always trade your light squared bishop for their bishop. So that's point numero 3. And then, lastly, and this is the last little bit of theory here, let's say they don't play bishop to e6, because I need to demonstrate something. Okay. Let's just say they allow you to get everything you want. Let's say, random king move. You want to play d4 when possible. This is the last bit of opening theory here. And I say theory very loosely. This is actually more of a system in some certain aspects. But basically, you want to play d4 when you can. When d4 is possible to be played, and you've at least mostly finished, even if like your knight was like here. Actually, I don't even know if you can play it here. Yeah, I mean you can. Yeah, even if your knight is like here, right? You can, if you can play d4, you should try to play d4, right? So here, this is completely fine for you. Takes 6, easy. You have a nice big boy center here. So, just remember, when you can play d4, you should. Now, d4 can be played a little bit later, as here, right? You can just play d4 now. Takes 6. This is fun. I mean, this is solid, right? Nobody's gonna tell you this isn't solid. This is great. Look at this. I mean, this is just beautiful right here. Bishop goes back. This is very bad for them, right? You can just start like swarming or whatever. Like this looks crazy, but this is a position you may actually see, and this is very nice for when this happens to you, because well, I mean, this is a very nice position. So that's the last one. In fact, that actually covers my second point, which is after you play d4, you just want to play on the flanks and just attack your opponent, whether that's through some like crazy kingside assault or like some like attack down the queen side or whatever with these A and B pawns, which I personally prefer. I personally prefer the queen side attack. You might not be like me, and that's completely fine, but yeah, you can just like set up some like crazy queen side battery or whatever. But yeah, I'll let you figure that out. I'm not here to just tell you how to play this game, but I am here to help instruct you on the theory that you should be playing. So, to recap quick there, if your opponent plays d6, you play a4, and then h3. When you can, play d4. While you're waiting to play d4, route this knight, after you've castled and played rook e1. And then, after you break in the center, play on the flanks. Whether that's through queenside play, or an attack on the king. Okay? And I'm sure an attack on the king will not be as simple as bishop to g5 and queen d2, but you get what I'm trying to do with there with the arrows, alright? So, that's it for the theory. Just play like that, you'll be fine. You might need to also, just as a side note, you may need to like drop this bishop back if there's a lot of pressure, because sometimes black is like plays really smart and pressures your e-pawn a lot. If that happens, just drop the bishop back and like support it through this pawn, if you know what I mean. Like, that's how bishops work. But yeah, so that's the theory. Do that, you'll be fine. You got those 4 points, you'll be good. Knight route, queenside pawn storm. When they play d6, you play a4, h3, and then knight route after castles and rook e1, and then break in the center, you'll be good. Alright, so that's it for the theory section. Now, I'm going to quickly run over a couple of common endgames, and we'll be out of here. Okay, so this is a pretty common endgame in Giuoco Pianissimo openings, and that is 2 bishops when one side has an extra pawn. So this can either be a draw or a win for actually either side. It's actually a decently balanced, I say balanced sort of in air quotes, endgame, because most of the time it's a draw. However, in some cases it can be a win. So this position, it's actually a draw. Draws occur either when the weaker side has a king, basically, behind the pawn on a square that this pawn cannot be, is basically not promoting when protected by the bishop. Basically, if this king cannot be checked by this bishop, is basically behind this pawn and cannot be checked by this bishop, it's a draw, right? In this position, it also happens to be a draw, because 3 other conditions are met. This king is behind the pawn, however, the king is attacking the pawn. The king has a bishop that can move at least 2 other squares. This bishop can actually move 3, right? So at least 2 other squares to move to. And this king has the opposition, right? Those are the 3 requirements for drawing this sort of endgame as the weaker side if your king is behind the pawn, which in this case it is, right? So no matter what white does, this is a draw. If you just dance back and forth, you can just do this all day, right? This is a draw. Easy, no problem, right? If you push the pawn, obviously you just trade, and that is also a draw. Lichess is massively lagging right now. What is going on? Holy, bro, Lichess is a bit drunk right now. Oh, wait a minute. Bro, I'm actually, like, tripping. Lichess isn't allowing me to take this because the game is over. This is also a draw. Oh my goodness. Okay, my bad. Okay, my bad. No. Yes, this is a draw. This is a draw. And dancing back and forth. That's a draw as well. Okay, my bad. You get what I mean. Okay, let's just move on. Okay, that's a disaster. Okay, now this one. This is actually a win, believe it or not. This is a really weird win that you can get. It's actually, the computer says, I'm looking up at it right now, it says mate in 27. Basically, it revolves around getting this bishop off of this diagonal with this bishop by swiveling this bishop around. Not to there, but you get what I mean. Right? Here, 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 here. That's how it works in a nutshell. So, this is a win after bishop to g5. King goes here, say. Check. King goes here. Getting this here. And no matter what happens, this is going to be mate, kicking the bishop off. Obviously, if bishop takes, then you're winning. If bishop moves away, you can slide away. Bishop goes here, you take. So, obviously, you can't do that. So, say king goes here. This bishop is now completely deflected off, and you can promote. This is a win, right? So, for remembering the way to draw this, if your king is behind the pawn and you're trying to draw, if the king is behind the pawn, it has opposition, and you have a bishop that can move at least 2 other squares, and your king can attack the pawn, you're good. If you're defending, and your king is behind the pawn on a square that the bishop cannot check it, you're also fine. You're completely fine as well. Obviously, because you just move your bishop around the entire game, and you're fine, right? In this position, black has none of those, just doesn't have those, and this is going to be a win after you do some bishop maneuvering, right? So that's how you win and draw bishop and pawn endgames, which is a common endgame in Giuoco Pianissimo positions. So that is going to be the video. Thank you for watching. This is the first video, obviously, so if you can leave me some maybe feedback in the comments, that would be quite nice. I'm trying to work out my sort of flow here, trying to work out the flow. I got the notepad in front of me, got the notes on here, so trying to work it out here. If you got any tips or advice, I'll leave that in the comments. I might include this endgame thing in future videos, I might not. We'll have to see. It was kind of a shaky endgame tutorial, I'm not even gonna lie to you, because it's just sort of hard to demonstrate these things, so I might leave that off and maybe make a separate endgame video later, and maybe explain this whole thing in more detail, but for now, that's gonna be it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next opening video. Peace.